CeeLo Productions presents Backstage Access. I'm your co-host, Scott Lowe.
And I'm your co-host, Tony Gonzalez.
And in this podcast, we discuss all things in the world of Christian music and entertainment. All right. Thank you for joining us for Backstage Access. This week, we have the band AfterWinter all the way from Ohio. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Good. How are you guys doing?
We are good.
We're good, guys.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with us and just be able to do this podcast and learn more about who you guys are.
Hey, man, we appreciate you guys thinking of us. It's an honor to be a part of it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So what is your guys' story? I mean, obviously, we know, AfterWinter, you guys are a rock band, but what's your guys' individual stories? What's your testimonies of, coming to Christ and then how this band, how you kind of transitioned into a band?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I grew up in church, and actually most of my family is in this band as well. So, my dad, Dan, is the bass guitarist. My younger brother, Sam, is the keyboardist. My sister, Majenica, is the vocalist.
Wow.
And we grew up going to church all of our lives, which was super neat. And of course, my dad, Dan, is also a music teacher. So music has also been a part of our lives for me since before I have conscious memories of anything else. Mm-hmm. I have music, you know what I mean?
Nice.
So it was bound to collide in some way at some point. Of course, we played at churches all around the area for years and years and years. We went to a church called Fort Jefferson, which is just south of Greenville here for, oh my gosh, most of my adult life. Spent playing guitar and drums with them as well. So yeah, super neat to finally be able to kind of do this. We played in bands for a long time too that were just whatever kind of bands, and then to have the opportunity to do this in the Christian format, and also to kind of discover this scene that we're in now, which we had no idea existed. The idea that there was a Christian metal scene that was a tight-knit group of people who love God and love this kind of music. Mm-hmm. And it was so neat to integrate into that, right. You know what I mean, and have that open. We had classic bands too that we had no idea existed. Of course, almost everybody knows Stryper and Petra and those sorts of things, but right. Bands like Deliverance and Mortification and those sorts of bands, we had no idea any of that was a thing. So it was really neat to jump into that as well. Growing up, going to church and, just being raised in it. And there was a point, I think I was in my early teens, maybe I started doing a Tuesday night youth group that was popular in the area with a group of friends. And I think this is kind of where, at least for me, the faith part of this turned around, because it had always just been something that was part of my life. You know what I mean? I had never questioned it, had never really thought about anything else. And ironically, seeing some of the things that were happening in this youth group, and it was a large youth group, probably 150 or 200 kids.
Wow.
And the people that were in charge just had a lot of really weird ideas, and they treated the kids very strangely. And it was at this place that I started questioning, like, okay, is all this just posturing? Is this not real? Is this just people desperately grabbing for power and making this up to make it sound like? So it was through that I started to question. I'm thinking, looking inward and thinking about all the things that I heard growing up, and what did I really believe, and do I just believe this because I was raised in it, or do I actually believe it? You know what I mean? Does it make sense to me actually logically?
Right.
And eventually came to that conclusion. Yes, I do believe. I think all of this is real. This makes more sense to me than the idea of the Big Bang, all of that sort of thing. The idea that there is a creator, there's an author that has made all of this on purpose, and all of the things that you see that just can't be coincidence, but they work perfectly together. The fact that our bodies move and work and do any of this at all makes way more sense to me that somebody or something is behind that,
right,
rather than it being a big cosmic accident. Mm-hmm. And so there, I think there was an important separation there for me between the faith itself and some of the people that are in the faith. So seeing the things that were happening at that youth group and the things that they were hating, and then trying to spread that to us as, most of the kids that were going there were between, I would say, 12 and 16. And that was upsetting, that they're spreading hating things. That was their big thing, or trying to,
Wow.
here are all the things you shouldn't be into.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and that was, so having to create that separation, ironically, again, it made me turn inward and really think about the belief system. Do I actually believe this or not? And I think that was an important turning point for me in my life, was just that.
And oddly enough, a lot of that stuff then is probably now accessible today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember showing up, just as one example of that. My dad has always been a huge Kiss fan. Both Eli and I are huge Kiss fans.
Right on.
And I showed up to the youth group one night wearing a Kiss shirt, and they sent me home. They made me go home.
Wow.
And I had never heard the whole Knights in Satan service thing prior to that. You know what I mean? Looked into that, and a church made that up. By the way, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if that's public knowledge, but that was a church in one of the southern states trying to stop them from coming to play, and that they made that up. It's never been something that Kiss has been behind. But anyway, that again, it was just really upsetting. This is a band that I've been into since I was a kid. Sure, some of their songs aren't family friendly,
Right, yeah.
But there's nothing directly anti-religious, and so for them to have done that, and they were so upset that I was just wearing the shirt that they made me go home.
Wow, man.
And that was just one of many things, but that it was enough to really make me think about what is this now, and that kind of continued into my adult life as I became more active in the church that I was going to, and kind of seeing some of the, I don't want to say dirty behind the scenes things, but you know how that sort of stuff goes. Seeing the people who don't have the best interest of the community at heart. They just have themselves and what power they can grab, and using the church and things to get to that power. That it's just a sad thing that happens, but it was important for me to get that separation between, okay, no matter what any self-professing Christian does or says, that is not the same thing as God's will. And so I was always able to separate that. I have this belief, I have this connection, and none of that can be shaken by people being people.
Yeah.
And touching on something you said earlier, our bodies don't move as well now as they used to.
Well, I can relate to you there, brother.
I mean, it's sad, when, the experience that you had in the youth group and everything, but I think that one of the things that, that you benefited from that is because you were able to take that experience and internalize it, and it really caused you to take that step to make your faith your own in a way, where it wasn't, this is what you were taught at that church, and as part of the youth group, you really started to seek it for yourself. And so you kind of, you began your own faith journey where, okay, this is, why do I believe this? What is it? What about it do I believe? And, what have I been taught to believe that maybe doesn't line up with, with what I truly believe or what the Bible teaches. And so I think that was really, really important. I think that God allowed those things to happen, or maybe not allowed those things to happen, but he took those things and turned it into good to give you the ability to really seek things for yourself.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I think a lot of kids got that same experience from that youth group. It's I don't know if funny is the right word, but it's interesting that something so almost objectively negative can turn into a positive because of that exact thing. That's interestingly another thing you touched on there that I really love about the Christian metal scene is that the wide array of things that we can talk about in our lyrics and our songs. And you've got certain bands that are more for the the church going crowd, songs that feel more like worship songs or almost like metal versions of hymns. And then things more like Seven you were just talking about. And I think I would classify AfterWinter more towards that. Certainly not vulgar, but we're not for the church necessarily. Like, the only reason it would make sense for us to play in a church is because we're a Christian band. The songs have real world messages. We're more worried about the people who need to come to God than we are worried about the people who are already there. But I love that there are Christian metal bands, like the one that comes to mind is our friends in Weapons of God, who are from the same similar area, and their music I would classify more like metal worship songs. And I love that there are both of those things coexisting.
Yeah, that's very important.
One of the tracks on our album, which is actually just a skit, we were actually kind of concerned, based on just the content of that, how that may rub people wrong, or if it would at all.
Yeah.
So we were a little hesitant just doing that. So, knowing the story of Seven now and everything, it was kind of, lift a little weight off of our shoulder.
Right.
Heavy metal churches that are around. I mean, there's one not far from here.
Yep.
And a lot of those, type of people that you're talking about probably don't know them.
Right.
So they're thinking, when they hear the word church, they're thinking of the typical,
right,
the traditional type of church that we all, grew up in. But the heavy metal type of church and all that, that's a whole nother atmosphere. And
yeah, it is.
They may totally enjoy it and, keep coming and be glad that they did, and wondering why they didn't do it sooner.
Right, exactly. I
mean, 'cause we, we're feeling those same things that those people that are listening are feeling too. I mean, we hurt sometimes. We all go through the hard times too. So
right.
That's coming out in our music and lyrics as well.
Right.
And, and I know, I don't know if I speak for the rest of the band, but just me personally, playing this music and is therapy in itself. Actually playing the song, just everything about it is therapy in itself. It just does something to you. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm not sure that there's a point at which I feel closer to God than when I'm playing.
Yes.
Just because of that marriage of, growing up in church and growing up in music, and that's, that's a gift I was given. So of course that's the greatest connection.
Yep, absolutely. So Eli, what's your story, man? What's your story of, just kind of how you came to Christ, and and then we'll kind of get into the band and the music.
So I was raised, I went to Catholic schools my whole life up through about 8th grade. I was always involved in the churches. I was even, an altar boy for a few years. Was pretty involved for a while. After I started experiencing a few losses, especially after I lost my father back in 2004, that's when I really started having my battles about, the faith, and I was kind of more angry at the time, to be honest. And, that whole battle of, why is this happening? Why would, this happen to such a good person and all that stuff. And, I kind of had to work my way through that. And then also when I found out that, my dad had been saved, before he had passed, that kind of woke me up a little bit more too. Like, whoa, like that kind of really surprised me. And so then it kind of helped me kind of readjust my thoughts and almost like forgive in a way, and kind of regain that faith that I've had again. And especially now being a father as well, I definitely don't want it to, raise my kids in the wrong light. And, we want them to, my wife as well, on top of that, is, she was raised in a very religious family, still is. But, so, we raised them, to learn about Jesus and, everything. And, they're already learning well. But musically, I mean, I grew up with music as well. My dad was a musician too. He was also a bass player, played guitar, banjo, everything.
Wow.
And so, it was always music in the house too, between him playing Beatles and rock. And then my mom was more like the oldies and pop. So, I kind of had all that meshed into me. And then he introduced me to Kiss, and, it kind of took off from there. And so music always been a huge part of my life, growing up, and it still is. I mean, there's not a day that goes by I don't listen to music one way or another. And I tell you, music helps with so much, especially, when I was doing with my dad passing, and, and of course, through the years, when I've lost other friends or family members, or, recently my father-in-law passed. So, it definitely helps. Music definitely helps. And oddly enough, the Kiss music has always helped me. That's one reason I'm such a big fan of theirs. And it's just something about the music and their, everything they stand for and the message. It just, whether if I'm in a bad mood, even upset or anything, I could put on Kiss and listen, and it just like calms me down, puts me in a good mood. But this music in general, it just, the right certain songs that hit you in the soul, hit you in the spirit. And, when music does that to you, I mean, nothing else does it to you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. I love, when you started out saying, that you have issues, you have struggles. And because I think a lot of people have this perception of Christians as the church that, we have everything together. That, that,
I know they do.
That we're perfect. And so
way far from it, bro.
right. And, and it's amazing to see. And that's why I love and respect, our church so much. And I'm sure there's other churches out there, but with just how open people are about being broken, and it's not this, let me live, this certain life and make it look like, everything is fine. Like when people are broken and they're hurting, they're open about that. They're open about their struggles, and they talk about it, and they help other people who, are struggling with the same thing. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. And we've had so many people on here who have talked about, nobody has ever said, oh, I'm a Christian musician now, so I'm good. I got everything together.
No, not at all.
But when you're on the stage, these bands, to a degree, people like put bands on a pedestal,
right,
and thinking that, man, this person, God must like this person way more than me because they're on stage. And it's like,
right,
you don't know what's going on
exactly
as soon as they step off that stage.
Right.
And,
right.
But we've had one of my favorite guys that I've gotten to know is Josh from The Protest.
Yeah.
And, he shared about how he's the lead singer of a Christian band, and he still to this day struggles with depression and, just suicidal thoughts.
While he's on tour.
Yeah.
And that's, that was shocking.
I was surprised because I'm sitting here like, man, it just seems like you get to do what you love all the time. Like,
right.
That's your job. And, and it seems so much fun. And, but we never know what people are going through. And, it's just because people are singing and they're glorifying God, it's, that doesn't mean that they're perfect. That just means that they're doing their best to worship and to honor God through whatever trials they're going through. And, a really close friend of mine, he had said one time, he said, he's like, he's phenomenal when it comes to worship. He is absolutely amazing. And he's like, I learned that, man, you were there, Tony. How did he say? He said something like, I didn't know, when God is all you have, it means everything. And he's like, so when I worship, no matter what I'm going through, no matter what's going on in my life, and, it can be some very, very dark moments. And he's like, but when I worship God, he's like, it means so much more because I'm worshiping God through my brokenness. And he said, and it means so much more to me. It's more than just singing on a stage. It's more than leading a congregation in worship or playing drums.
Right.
He's like, there's so much more to it because, man, like I'm broken, like I'm hurting.
Yeah.
But when I'm able to just release it to God and I'm able to worship, he's like, man, he's like, I get wrecked every time.
Yeah.
And man, and that's what, like you were saying, that's what music does. Music is a release. Music is therapeutic. And when you're able to just, whether you're singing just in your car, you're singing on a stage, you're playing an instrument, I mean, you're able to just take all this emotion and you're able to just give it to God through those lyrics or, through those instruments.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there too, man. I mean, I battle depression and I have anxiety too. So, I mean, I'm right there.
Right.
And it's rough because there's days that the depression will just hit you and there's nothing that triggers it. It just happens, man.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing you can do about it. And you just have to sort of just, I guess, just tough your way through it until the next day or, and hope that it's better the next day.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm playing music or something, yeah, it's the best thing. But then unfortunately, sometimes after playing music, the next day or so, it may cause a depression because, after all that adrenaline rush and the love and excitement of being up there playing music, and then the next day you're sitting on your couch at your house and it's quiet again, and you're like, oh, this is boring.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, because even though AfterWinter hasn't played in the shows, Luke and I are involved in a couple other projects outside of that. So we do play some live music, fairly often.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm speaking of when I talk about that. But yeah. So I mean, I could totally relate. It's a hard battle.
Yeah.
And what better people to reach out to other people who have those same issues than somebody
Right.
who has those issues?
Mm-hmm.
I think interestingly that fuels the parts of our music that help with that. The fact that we've experienced that depression and the anxiety and the suicidal thought, any sort of negative things that people go through every day. There's no better person to make a song that talks about dealing with that than somebody who's also done it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I love how that interacts as well. It's sort of an answer to the why do bad things happen to good people question, sort of.
Yes.
We have then the proper experience to help other people properly deal with that same pain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends that committed suicide. I have friends that died from drug overdoses. And then losing families, from sicknesses and, all that stuff piles up on you. And, on top of just everyday life and, some of the just being an adult type struggle, money and so, money issues get tight sometimes and that stresses you out.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. I mean, people with struggles and pains relate to struggles and pains,
Right.
Through music and, that it's powerful, man. It really is, so it's very important. And it's, you guys doing that. That's awesome, man. God using you guys in your music ministry, man. That's really powerful, man. And it's awesome that you guys, God bless you guys for doing that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely great. And we're happy to be a part of anything like that happens. Of course, you can't go into this expecting that.
Yeah.
But anytime it does happen, it's just amazing because, especially with that story you were just telling too, what a coincidence, not only a coincidence, what a crazy series of coincidences
Right.
that resulted in the salvation of her life. And that therein lies the plan, God's plan. That's what it all is. And we dealt a lot with that on the album too, that particular, aspect of Christianity, the plan, God's plan. Are things really going to the plan? Is there a plan? What is the plan? We can't possibly understand the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly.
how did AfterWinter come about? Like, what was the idea behind that? And how did you come up with the name of the band?
Yeah. So almost all of us in AfterWinter were part of a different Christian metal band called Biogenesis for several years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And when when Biogenesis started writing, I don't remember what album it would have been. We got together. We had decided it was going to be a concept album. We had a creative disagreement with the vocalist of the direction and also the overall message of the story. And unfortunately, it couldn't be resolved, and things got uglier than they should have, and all of that eventually got smoothed over, luckily. But it was clear that we couldn't both be satisfied with the product. So it made more sense for him to go his own way and get other musicians who would be willing to do what he wanted to do, and then for us to kind of break off and do what we wanted to do. So we were kind of born out of that. So there were 6 people in Biogenesis, and the 5 of us, everybody other than the vocalist, broke off to form AfterWinter to do this, what eventually became Paramnesia, our first album. And we got our other vocalist, Jerry Grazioso, was a part of another band with Eli, and so we got him to come in and sing. And my sister also joined as vocalist. Now she was the drummer in Biogenesis for a little while and then quit, and we got Eli to replace her. And then she came back to sing for AfterWinter. So hopefully that made sense.
Yeah.
But so we knew we wanted to tell a story, and we wanted it to be a very powerful story. And one of the main components was we want the music to also tell the story. We don't want to just write some cool songs and then write connecting lyrics over them. Every part of this needed to be working toward the same goal, helping the listener to feel the same emotions as the characters as we move through the story, and also that the characters, the vocals, would be the dialogue between the characters, so that everything is aimed towards feeling the emotions with the characters as we move through the story. And so that kind of necessitated essentially like a Broadway musical, a metal Broadway musical. And I think that's exactly what we accomplished. But that's pretty much the formation of the band was for that specific purpose. We want to tell a story. We want to have this Christian message, and we want to have lots of little different, smaller Christian messages within. And then as far as the name, we had a long list. Oh my gosh. We were just throwing anything we could think of. And a quick Google crossed most of the suggestions off the list.
I can't even remember half the names now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. There were so many, and finding something that nobody else has used is a serious chore in nowadays world. That a lot of the ones that we liked, we would Google and discover, oh, well, there's already 17 bands using it.
Right.
So we won't do that. We had gotten it down to a couple, and AfterWinter, I'm not sure AfterWinter was on the initial list, actually. Winter Skull was something that we had played around with, and we knew that the skull part wasn't really what we wanted, but it was something like that. We liked the winter part, and I don't remember now who suggested the AfterWinter, but
I totally don't know.
Yeah, but I think we all knew. There was no question once it was suggested. That's like, okay, yeah,
there's a way we can get like the backlog of our Facebook chats. That's probably going to give us the answer from like whenever that time frame would have been.
It was a long time, and I loved the just all the different things you can connect to this, because it has that kind of fantasy feel, which we're all into. This idea. There was a initial idea that hasn't been, I guess, completely scrapped, but also not necessarily acted on, that we're kind of creating this fantasy world where we are the messengers of God sent to tell these stories, to bring. So there was a lot of plans for, we would wear certain things and we would look a certain way and we would have the symbols that represented each one of us, and so that AfterWinter fits that sort of fantasy sort of vibe, but also then it has this sort of metaphorical Christian meaning also, with winter being kind of a dead season. Everything dies and it's cold, and it's darker earlier in this part of the world, you guys know. And so the idea of it being after winter, we're talking about spring, things coming back to life, and being warm. And
yeah, we figured calling the band Spring wouldn't sound as cool.
It's not as appealing.
It also provides us a great, because we took way too long to make our first album. And so when people would say, hey, when's the album going to be done? We could just say after winter.
There you go.
We won't say which winter, but
that's awesome.
Or winter.
I think it came out in the fall.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I asked the question about the band, I don't know why, but in my head, I was thinking they're gonna say something along the lines of the band was started after winter. So that's what they went with.
Well, you know what? We also started in October, so that was also before winter.
Close.
Yeah.
I think if you find that very first announcement video we did on YouTube, I think we looked almost as unsure about it still at the time, like, this is the new band AfterWinter. And
I think we had just decided on the name at that point. Yeah.
Now let's do a video.
There you go.
Man.
Yeah. So, let's talk about your guys' influences. Every bass player, every guitar player, every drummer, singer, they've got a handful of musicians out there that really just influence them. And I like to find out from the bands is who was that one musician that you just like heard the first time and was like, man, I want to do that.
Oh yeah, for me, Phil Collen, the lead guitarist of Def Leppard.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, I can vividly remember hearing the guitar solo in the song "Let's Get Rock" and hearing that really fast run at the end of that solo. And I was doing something else while listening to this, and I can smell the smell I was smelling.
Right.
I remember stopping dead and dropping what I was holding and going, "How did he play like that?"
Right.
Of course, I'd already been playing different instruments for several years by that point, growing up with a music instructor for a dad. But I remember that hearing him play that crazy fast thing was the first time I was like, okay, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to figure out how to play that fast, and I'm going to do that.
Nice.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
And many years later, we're still... Right on.
Man, for me, I got to say Peter Criss, man, because as soon as I heard Kiss and fell in love, Peter Criss is probably the one that inspired me to play drums. But it's him, Alex Van Halen, Ringo Starr are probably the top three right there, because that's pretty much what I grew up with, listening to and playing along to. And I even got to give a little shout out to Frankie Bello from Quiet Riot, because I was listening to them all the time too.
Right. You said Alex Van Halen. Nobody's ever mentioned that on any one of our podcasts, but he's probably one of the most underrated drummers in the music industry. The guy is incredible. And if you if you break down his music and like listen to what he's doing in the background, and the reason he's overshadowed is because of his brother. Everybody's so focused on Ed that if you were to take Ed out of the equation and listen to what Alex is doing, you'd be like, what? This guy's amazing. And he is, and it's pretty cool with YouTube nowadays. I watch a lot of videos, and every musician, bass players, drummers, all of them. I watch them all. I get mesmerized. And I've been seeing a lot of them pop up with drummers talking about Alex. And they were like, man, you guys ever listen to that song Jump closely to what he's doing in the background? I was like, no, not really. I never did. And then they start breaking it down. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and it's, and it's, it was pretty cool.
That's the song
Oh, really? Yeah, he's an incredible drummer, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd sit there watching MTV for what felt like hours, waiting for that video to come on when I was little. And
Really? Yeah, right.
I'd play along to that song. At least, I was thinking I was playing the song as young as I was at the time. I mean, oh man, it's just that stuff's ingrained in my head, man.
Right.
And he's just now getting inducted into the Modern Drummer Hall of Fame, and I'm like, it took you guys this many years.
Right. It's like this guy was doing incredible stuff back at the end of the 70s, man, and all throughout the 80s, I mean, it was crazy.
And I love how they always say, because everybody's always trying to get that Alex snare sound. They're like,
good luck.
Get that from, have Alex Van Halen.
That's the only way it's going to sound like it, dude. Yeah, he's
different, man.
Yeah, he's a really awesome drummer. I really love that guy, I mean, a lot of respect for him, and cool.
Yeah, I think the band itself, we get compared to Dream Theater a lot, and I think that's a pretty safe bet. Yeah, I think all of us in the band, to a certain extent, Dream Theater fans, and for me, that's one of the top bands of all time. So of course,
nice.
That's same thing with my brother Sam, and Sam brings a little bit more of the more modern progressive stuff, like Haken, for example. He's a big Haken fan, bringing that more modern stuff in. But yeah, the Dream Theater, and then Kiss, Def Leppard, the Beatles, Eagles, all sorts of just. We really try to embrace the progressive thing too. So we love it could be anything at any moment. If the song calls for it sounds like a mariachi band for some reason, we're going to figure out how to do that, and we're going to do it.
There you go, man.
Wow.
Wow, that's really cool. That's awesome, guys.
Yeah, a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
Man, so thank you guys so much for doing this podcast and for being on here with us. But as we kind of wrap things up, I just want to make sure that our listeners are able to, just to stay up to date with you guys and learn more about you guys. So for anybody that's listening, maybe they haven't had a chance, to listen to your guys' music. They're not familiar with who the band is. What's some ways that they can follow you? What's some ways they can maybe see some upcoming shows that you guys are doing, and just support you in any way?
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. YouTube is one of the best places. We upload some stuff on there, both if you search AfterWinter, and also if you search The Riff Entertainment, is the recording studio that I run here, and that does all of the AfterWinter stuff. So there's some AfterWinter related videos on that channel as well.
Oh, wow.
Our Facebook page is great. We also have a group on Facebook called The Making of Paramnesia. If you search AfterWinter, The Making of Paramnesia, that's the thing that gets updated the most out of everything with just whatever we're doing. We are in the middle of recording a follow-up album at the moment, so video updates on that are getting posted in there. You can also check out theriffentertainment.com, which just has general updates of whatever is being recorded here. But of course, right now it's kind of AfterWinter based, with us still promoting the Paramnesia and working on the follow-up as well. We have an Instagram and a Twitter, but I don't think anything ever gets posted, so you can go there if you want to.
Yeah, just to reiterate, you can stream the whole album on our YouTube. Yep. You can find the album on Spotify, Apple Music, pretty much all the streaming services. Yeah, and then like you said, follow us on Facebook. Keep up to date. Working on the new album, very excited with how that's coming along so far. I'm loving the stuff we wrote for that, and as the layers are being added to that, I cannot wait till we get that one released.
Yeah,
it's definitely different from Paramnesia, but man, it's still AfterWinter, that's for sure.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
With Paramnesia being a 100-minute long double concept album, where every millisecond of every song was meticulously planned, it took us something like 4 years from announcement to finish. So album number 2, one of the first things we said was, okay, well, let's not take 4 years. So it's moving much quicker.
Right.
So what is it? Do you have a release date for the new album?
Not as of yet, but if we have our way, it will be sometime this year.
Okay.
Yeah. We're getting fairly far along. Drums are done. We just finished bass.
Guitars are all guitars.
Yeah, all rhythm are done. I mean, it's getting down to where lead, keys, and then vocals basically, and then of course all the mixing and mastering. So we're definitely moving a lot quicker this time.
Wow.
But also the writing. I don't want to get too far into this yet, but the writing process for this album was a little different from Paramnesia, so that was a nice change of pace as well. And I think we really came up with some, great quality songs. I mean, not taken away from Paramnesia, but like I say, this is like a growth from Paramnesia, but it's still AfterWinter.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I'm excited to hear that one.
We have to mention, everyone, please go to Rock's Record, ROXX Record. That's our label. You can also purchase physical copies of the album off of there as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Big shout out and thanks to Bill and crew over there for all the great work they've done with us.
Very much agreed. Yeah.
Again, thank you guys so much. Look forward to the new album, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you.